Welcome back, everyone, to a special series I'm thrilled to be hosting on LinkedIn called The Entrepreneur's Chair. Throughout this series, my goal is to provide you with authentic and intimate conversation with trailblazing entrepreneurs that are reshaping the Austin and San Antonio landscape. From startup founders to seasoned business moguls, we'll dive deep into the challenges, the struggles, the wins that have shaped who they are as an entrepreneur. Today, I'm so honored to have with me today Marissa Bennett, partner and CEO of View Imaging. They're a global leader in scaling creative talent across borders. Marissa's journey has spanned continents and sectors, from the United Nations and AmeriCorps to executive recruiting and corporate communications, always anchored in her passion for solving problems and connecting diverse communities. Born into a family of entrepreneurs and educated in England, Spain, and Switzerland, Marissa brings a truly international lens to leadership. Since joining View Imaging in 2016, she's been the driving force behind transforming a bold vision, creating quality digital content at scale into a thriving global solution. Welcome, Marissa.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Y'all do such amazing thing, and you're just such an amazing person. I just have been excited to get you on the show, so thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
And actually, I learned a lot. I had no idea. Career spanning United Nations, AmeriCorps, executive search, and then how I came into your life with this global creative production View Imaging company. So what drew you to View Imaging back in 2016, and how did all that cross-section work that you did in your history impact or show up at View Imaging?
Well, to clarify, I was an intern, my first job at the United Nations. So
it all counts.
It sound like counts. I was out there on the front lines, but no, it absolutely influenced the way I see the world. How I came into it's actually kind of sweet, I would say. Like I met my husband at a bar at 3 a.m. in the West Village, and we fell in love and got married. And he's an artist, a consummate artist, can paint you, draw, sculpt, and was making his living doing Photoshop. He's a retoucher, and so he had been doing that for years at Harper's Bazaar, and then he started his own shop. So when I met him, it was him and one other person. And after a couple of years, I just couldn't help but think, like there's something here that's bigger than just what he was doing.
Right.
And he's a consummate artist, and he's an entrepreneur. I don't want to say he's not an entrepreneur. He started his own business. He started his own company, but he wasn't thinking about scale in the same way that I couldn't help but wonder, like, is there a problem in the market that him and his expertise and what he knows and his knowledge, that there's some way to leverage that to solve a larger problem in the market. So I said I would join for 1 year. And so, 10 years later, here we are. So that's the very honest answer. I think that why would somebody join their husband's company or something? I think it definitely has to do with the fact that I grew up with both my mom and my father as entrepreneurs, and just at their seat next to them in all their meetings. And, my dad had a wholesale clothing company, so walking factory floors or in the, rag district in New York and things like that. So I think I had that entrepreneurial lens. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't help when I saw what he was doing to think, like, there's something here.
That's brilliant. Mm-hmm. And you were in New York at that time?
I was actually in Baltimore. I was there for the weekend with my friend, and then it kind of was like game on.
I love that. You have a market that most people don't know that much about. I mean, it's just really high-end, big brands. And you're producing this high-quality creative content at scale. So, and you're saying you stepped into this, like, I want to scale do you think people underestimate the complexity of what it takes to actually grow a business and scale it?
Scale digital creative or business in general?
Both are valid. You answer whichever one you like.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I think if I'd overthought it, if I really had my plan, or if I knew what was in store, would I've jumped in? Probably not. So it's probably one of those things where you just get started. Yeah. Or, you're like, definitely a visionary. There's no question.
Right.
I can't help when I see something to see what it could be. And then I don't even think about it. I just start moving.
Right.
And I think that's what happened, which is like one foot in front of the other. Is there? Oh, there is a problem to solve. How could we solve that problem? And then it kind of just like spun out from there. And then with the digital creative specifically, I mean, yeah, it's the content beast and everybody's feeling it. And it's, smaller teams, more volume. And it's real easy for that to feel chaotic and become chaotic.
Yeah.
Unless you have some really strong processes and systems and teams in place.
Right.
But then the beauty is once you do have those and you find the right people, because it's all about people, it's literally all about people, then it's so fun because you get to see it working and you have something to refine and nerd out on and tweak. And that's the fun part for me. It's like there's never a boring day. I get tired, but there's never a boring day.
Well, and one thing I've really learned and appreciate is just that philosophy of how you manage people, how you view people, the best in them. Can you talk a little bit about like what is it that you see in others that you feel like you just kind of unlock?
I don't know like what it is I see. I guess it's that same visionary.
Yeah,
it's that same component. Like I see what they're capable, like what I can see what they would be great at or what they are great at, what lights them up. I love seeing when, even when you're interviewing somebody, it's almost like a first date, you're saying you go snowboarding and you like walks on the beach and it's like, how often do you do that a year really? Like, is that really how you spend the majority of your time?
Right.
There's not that good at sometimes you put this persona forward, right?
Right.
Or this aspirational persona forward. So even in the interview process, it's really a lot of like, tell me about a time when, and being really honest too. Like this is this kind of startup mode, things change, priorities change, like, and people will say, like, that's not a problem. But if you can ask enough sideways questions to where you really see if they're coming up with just an answer or you watch them, you can hear what you can see on their face when they have that story, the true story. And then it rolls off the tongue and you see the passion and you see them light up. And when I see that, then I can start figuring out where they would fit. And that's the hard part for me is like not building roles for people. Mm-hmm. Because I love people and I want to give people opportunities and I want them to rock out, but really having to be kind of, ruthless is the wrong word. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but really focused on what does Vue need? Uh-huh. And then does their superpower, what truly lights them up, does that fit with what Vue imaging needs right now? Yeah. And if it does, and when it does, it's the coolest thing ever because you don't need to micromanage. If anything, you need to be like, hey, like, take some time off, everything kind of falls into place when you're locking people's like passions into like the business's needs. Yeah,
I love just like when a visionary can take the visionary of a business, but also take that superpower of the visionary of what a person could be. That's just amazing super talent. So I just wanted to share that with you. You've got Sephora is one of your largest long-term clients. What does it take to be like a production partner with some entity that's that big?
Yeah, I know. I think about it. It's been 10 years that we've been working together, which in agency or vendor partner land is a really long time.
Right.
And the truth is, it's people. It's relational.
Right.
So even though it's a huge corporation, and they've all, and which adds some complexity. There's no question, right? When there's people moving in and people moving out, and there's just, there's moving pieces. But I will say Sephora hires really great people. So whoever, like people I'm working with and I'm connecting with, they're nerdy little problem solvers too. So that's where it was a fit. That's the fit. We hire nerdy problem solvers that love to make beautiful things. And I think Sephora has done the same thing on their production side. So that's really made it human in that sense. It's like we're standing shoulder to shoulder and we're solving problems together and we're building systems together. I'm very lucky in that when Sephora came to me, they really had a leader that was committed to building this together and understanding that it's one creative production pipeline. And there's that handoff. I call it the passing off the baby moment, the brief, the intake materials, but it's still one production line. So it's not going to work if you have this mentality of it pointing fingers downstream.
Right.
Which is so easy to do.
Sure.
But if you have leadership in place that's really holding their own team accountable to their part of the process,
right,
then it becomes possible. It's really not possible without that. I think that you'll end up churning through or you'll be thinking of them as vendors, as not partners, and you'll be churning through them.
Right.
And it's always easy to point fingers.
Right.
And we're just so lucky that it hasn't been that way. I'm not going to lie. At the beginning of anything with Sephora, with anybody, the first few projects, that's where we're literally just like finding data. Like there's how you say things are going to be, the dream, and then there's the reality on the ground, right? The reality on the ground. Did you have time to check your asset list and check every single link and make sure everything worked before you handed it off to us? When you've got 6 other projects on your plate and something else got thrown on your plate, maybe not, but that's okay. We build 2 more days in, we go through all of it, we check it, we surface it. We're your second set of eyes. Now when we do the kickoff call, it's a productive call. It's not pointing out that, hey, this piece of information was missing. And then once they feel, like the team members feel, not just the leadership, that we truly have their back, we're truly a second set of eyes.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we noticed this last time, is this still true?
Yeah.
Then it's so cool. Like the shoulders start falling down, the trust is there. Hey, could you help me with this and that? And then it really is like a true partnership. I know partnership gets thrown around a lot, but it really does become like we're all on the same team.
Sounds like y'all build deep, trusting relationships with these entities you're not building with the entity, the people within the entities.
Exactly. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's people. It's people, and everybody's, under a lot of pressure, and everybody needs to perform for the person right above them,
Yeah.
And so it's just really respecting that you're in a relay race, like you're passing a baton. If someone's counting on you to have that thing for that meeting or publication or whatever it is, it's just really respecting that and not ever wanting to like leave anybody, in a lurch.
I think about the complexity of the universe that you live in and the creative design. And I would think because you've worked with different people and companies, there's probably some trends or things that you can help them maybe not make mistakes. Are there some of those out there that because you're coming in from the outside, you're able to kind of head some things off before they occur?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, with experience and having worked with enough brands now over and over again, and there's definitely a value in a fresh set of eyes that has some experience behind it to be able to see some pain points in a different light.
Yeah. And
also to be able to say, hey, like, you are not alone. There's many a beautiful brand that's making beautiful stuff, and behind the scenes, it's tough. The content beast is real.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. It's volume. It's fast. The brand vision, integrity, brand identity is so critical, right? So the stakes are high. So in those instances, we're able to come and bring some best practices and, like some real basics, what does your brief look like? Is it too much information for the people, one stage down? Maybe that's beautiful for the marketing team, but maybe in this instance, we don't need to have all of that information here, or we have a 2-tiered system, or just these little like refinements to just the process and when it gets handed off. at each stage, we're really thinking about it in systems.
Right.
Like the only way to do volume is systems. So I think bringing that systems thinking is sometimes helpful. And I think it also probably gives people internally, like arms them with the ability to say, hey, let's do this because, like, this is the implication, versus maybe somebody just kind of screaming in the wind processes, you know what I mean? like we all know that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. And then to be like, it's not everything, it's just a few things, and it's a proven process, and we can walk you through it.
Right.
You know? That's also really comforting. I imagine that feels like that could feel good.
Yeah.
And then you get to feel the effect of it, and then it's always tailored. So it's not ever like, this is our process.
Right.
That we're going to like overlords or something.
Yeah.
But there are stages that you can co-create together, and then that becomes the foundation and the framework. And from there, you can really like be way more agile, truthfully.
You know, and when I think about, agency, they've been around forever. I almost feel like y'all are disrupting that a little bit, right? Viewing it differently. What do you think y'all bring? Is there stuff about the agency world that you think, wow, I want to do it a little bit differently?
Yeah. I mean, I do sometimes. I feel like we're a little pirate ship.
Very nimble.
Very nimble, exactly. We're certainly more agile.
Yeah.
We're meeting people where they're at with this production strategy and creative lens, and tailoring processes and systems and building teams to their specific needs. I don't know that every agency is able to do that, maybe because of the size or maybe the overhead or the number of, and also probably there's a lot of, a lot of agencies are being bought up by other agencies and they're conglomerates, and there's just like, short-term, quarterly pressures and stuff like that we don't have. So really, it's like an artist is our founder. Everything has to be beautiful, period. It can't leave the shop. So like we really have this elevated bar, which not saying other agencies don't have that, but that's something that's like in our DNA.
Yeah, I see that.
And then from there, we build and tailor and build the scale and the volume. So we can also come up with the idea, and we could make the million things. That's probably unique. I know starting off in post, there's just been so many instances where I'm sitting behind Peter's chair, and it's just like, why didn't they take this plate? A plate's like an extra shot that you can use later. Why didn't they take this? Why didn't they take 2 steps back or X, Y? You know what I mean? Whenever you're always thinking like one stage up, if they had X, Y, Z,
right,
we wouldn't be in this jam that we're in.
Right.
And because of that, since we're always thinking about the end from the inception, we're able to like parallel paths in certain instances, or just kind of get ahead of those things, with checklists and stuff, like right at the stage ahead. So by the time it comes to us, things are already pretty buttoned up, and it's able to, kind of hum. And that's what I was always like kind of eager to get to that stage. And now we are fully end to end. And my hypothesis is true.
True visionary, there you go.
And so I think that perhaps that's unique too, is like the full true end to end.
I like that, because when y'all are, at the beginning, it's not just this is what we're supposed to do. You're thinking more bigger picture of, but this is the outcome. Maybe we should do some different things. It makes a lot of sense when you hear it, but I wouldn't have thought that.
Give yourself the flexibility. Give yourself the flexibility later.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be in all these formats and all these versions. Like, let's get ahead of that.
Yeah, and there's so many versions of content now, so important. So if you were talking to a company, and maybe early stage, about building a visual identity, any thoughts come to mind of what you would counsel them to think about?
I mean, my designers, my creative director would have a lot more to say on this than I do, but I have gleaned, I've gleaned quite a bit, which is just that it really is a design system, that you're already thinking about it in terms of a system and modular. So that way you can have a framework that can grow with the brand rather than having to like redefine it as you go, or things start getting Frankensteined. If you're already thinking about that on the inception, maybe you don't have every single thing already, fleshed out, but you know that this is where it's going to go, and you're thinking about that out of the gate, then you're not having to do like refreshes as often. You also have guardrails, because often, especially smaller brands that are scaling, you're bringing in a lot of freelancers, or you're having a lot of different people coming in and out with all sorts of fun, exciting ideas. You're hiring really creative people. There's a lot of trends, things like that. So it's good to have some pretty tight guardrails to keep yourself from chasing everything shiny, because at the end of the day, branding is consistency. Like, people need to see you show up in a certain way, so that they can connect the dots. And it's just real easy for that to get a little wily when you don't have a really strong system in place. And you can still play. I say it's like, what is it? The constraints unleash the creativity.
Yeah, I could imagine you can actually shock the world with something that's not on brand if you're not really consistently thinking about re-emphasizing that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and like, what are those touch points that bring it back, even if you're going to, stretch a little bit?
So I'm assuming you've seen a lot of changes, and you see a lot of changes coming on the horizon. Is there anything you're thinking about of how you're going to morph or change or integrate any of these into what you're doing?
I mean, right, there's no question. AI is the big one, and it's, kind of freaking a lot of creatives out and a lot of people. I mean, it's a huge paradigm shift as a culture. But for us, I mean, I've really been not intentional, but we've had a lot of conversations internally about this. And I do feel like I'm the one that's kind of saying, it's not something we need to fear. At the end of the day, you still need humanity. You still need the one who knows what is beautiful or what is correct. And AI is something that can amplify creativity, but I think replacing creativity or just using that instead of real people who've been thinking about it, I think it shows. And I think that consumers are starting to, like, already, even though we're at the very frontier of this, they're already starting to feel a little side eye, like, is that real? Is that not real? Like, and it's all about trust, right, with your consumer.
Right.
So I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting. Like, let's figure out how to play with this, how to use it in a way that's ethical, in a way that's still the quality's there, really tactically, right? Like, when and where. I mean, it's really great with like operations and all sorts of ways in the back end too, not just the creative itself. So I would say yes, like, AI is one place that we're playing with it every day. We're testing it. We're pressure testing it. Peter, being an artist himself, has been very reticent. And now he's seen where it can be used, like background generation, and then you still capture the product and then place it into it. And you're able to have a bunch of different backgrounds. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars in savings from having to do, and you get to A/B test things more. Like, there's so many places where it makes a lot of sense and it's really fun. And it's just making sure that you retain the quality and the beauty and the humanity,
No, I agree. I think somebody, we're still going to want the real, right? I mean, and we don't want a world that's totally AI generated, and we're just like, well, we can create anything because it's just all fake, Especially, I would think, in the high-end beauty brands and in health and wellness, you want to see that person and be able to connect with them, and then that takes you to connect to the brand.
100%. Yeah. I know I don't want to see my product on an AI model, like a skincare product or something like that. I don't think I would. That would fray the trust instantly with me, or break the trust.
And I know you guys have some pretty strong core values in your organization. Do you mind talking a little bit about how you bring those to life? To, like, what do you see those core values doing for your company, and how do you manifest it so it actually is living?
Yeah. Well, we run on EOS.
A little plug there. Thank
Little
you.
plug there.
Yeah.
Which I really love the way that the core values are so like fundamental to that like system of management system. For me, from day one, I never wanted the core values to be something that was like just some poster on the wall or something,
Yeah.
like some cat hanging there kind of poster. Like, and I feel like I had time in corporate America, and I think a lot about I think it drives a lot of how I'm building bioimaging.
Yeah.
Is kind of the things that I didn't find very fulfilling and satisfying, and I'm using the core values as my goals, like my North Star for myself, first and foremost.
Right.
Like, what is the culture going to look like in View? How do we want it to feel when you show up in bioimaging? So for me, they're just critical on a personal level. Then it's like, how do you roll that out and get it to not be something that's just like cheesy and, talked about annually at the retreat or something.
Yeah.
And when we do that is we have all hands every month. And then we do shout outs to each other, to different colleagues, and they're connected to a core value. And that's been really great because while maybe it's a little prescribed, in those moments when people are connecting the dots of like, oh, Ziana was a team player. She jumped on this when she didn't, have to. And
Right.
Like when people are bringing them up and you're seeing it like living and breathing and you're doing that on a monthly basis,
Right.
that really brings them to life. And you see that it's not just words. We also have something called Bonusly where you can give people shout outs and little tokens on Slack and stuff like that. And that's really fun. People are always using the core values there when they're calling people out. And then obviously with hiring, it's like the number one thing with hiring. Like it really helps narrow down, like, what am I looking for? What kind of questions am I asking? What kind of background questions am I asking to make sure that that they have those? Because if they don't have the core values, there's no way we can create the culture, maintain the culture. And I feel like it's a very precious thing.
No, I love that. I mean, and I love the fact that you came from corporate. There are things you didn't like and you wanted to integrate it. I know you do retreats and I don't know, it's just a very engaging environment. I was just wondering if you talk a little bit more about your philosophy, because I think sometimes we don't purposely build the company that we want to live in. Mm-hmm. And so what's in your mind about that intentionality fascinates me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that there's like anything too profound except that, every day at like 4:00 when I was in corporate America, I would have this like existential crisis of like, this isn't what I thought I'd be doing when I was a little girl, like this can't be right, these big dreams. And then it was like, I just want a cubicle like near a window, and a manager that's like respectful and a colleague that I like, it like my dreams went from here to so much smaller.
Yeah.
Just to get through my day almost. I felt like so much like a cog in the wheel. And I felt like often I would have certain insights because I was the closest to the work, and it didn't like make it up the channels. So there was also frustration. Like being a visionary, that drives you crazy. You're like, come on, like
Yes.
The hierarchy, when you can say something where, watching people in meetings kind of reading the room to know when they can speak up and who's all of that kind of stuff was just stifling to me. So yeah, of course I love like linked, not ranked, that whole philosophy, that whole, so I was like, is there a way that we can build something, plus you're spending 40 hours of your week. It's like, it's a huge chunk of your life. It's your life force, more time than, a lot of times with your family or kids and stuff. So I was like, there's just got to be a way that we can build something where you're not having that 4:00 like existential questioning of yourself. Yeah. So then it's like, how do we do that? Let's figure out what the culture is we want. Find other people who are vibing with that same culture. Find people that like what's their thing that lights them up, their superpower, see if we can plug it in here, and then really keep it alive and living and breathing with, we have like anonymous surveys and shared views. So like people can ask any question, and they've asked some pretty tough questions, and then we discuss it as an entire company together. Versus me sitting here from the top and just deciding,
right.
Well, what do I think? Which is cool, because in those conversations, employees put their like owner, or kind of forced to put their owner hat on.
Right.
And I'm forced to put my employee hat on.
Yeah.
And really see things from the other perspective, and then say, what's the third thing? Like, what's the third thing on the menu here that we're not thinking about? Mm-hmm. And like, hands down, every time there's like a third thing that comes out and it's not like, there's like, get buy-in, like you should go get buy-in from your team.
Right.
It doesn't feel forced. It
Right.
feels like truly like generative and co-creation, and like we're building this together. And that's the part that's the job that's the company I wanted to work for. And now I do. And now I'm just like so floored and honored sometimes. I'm like, oh, this is so, when it's happening, it's like just really exciting, because it doesn't feel like it's about me anymore or my little idea. I feel like there's people who are it's theirs too,
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So I like to end each episode by asking a couple of questions. One being, what do you think authentically makes for a successful entrepreneur? I mean, you grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Authentically makes an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure they all share that visionary component. Well, I don't know, maybe not. I know there's integrator, visionary, there's different schools of thought, but there's got to be a piece of you, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that can't help but see the thing.
Yes.
And want the thing to exist. And that kind of pushes you forward through all the muck and the mire and the questioning and the doubt and all the other things, because it's all going to come. So I think there's got to be like a true visionary component. Mm-hmm. and maybe a little bit of crazy.
I think so.
Yeah, like a little bit of, like, if you really thought about it, I don't know, you're going to be people like, really, should you, could you, would you, are you sure? There's going to be a lot of doubt coming your way. So there has to be a little bit of like cocksuredness, I guess. Yeah. Or like for me, it's not that I've always thought like, oh, I'm going to be successful come hell or high water.
Right.
I just truly believe like we're here to learn. And like I could nerd out and listen to podcasts and learn stuff all day for the rest of my life. So business is as good a place as anywhere else. And plus you get to create the culture you want and be part of something you want, and then nerd out with other people that you like. So that just kind of maybe the selfish part of me is like, if I'm going to have to like solve problems, and I love solving problems, like let's figure out like a cool gang to do that with.
I love that. Yeah, I think the entrepreneur just has that outcome they're going for, and they're going to do whatever walls they need to walk through, or whatever, they're just going to make it, because it has to come to life. And you've got that drive and energy. It's amazing. And then how do you define success as an entrepreneur, or what does success look like, from your perspective? I've heard you say a lot of it, which is creating your own company, but.
Success as an entrepreneur. I think staying in the game.
Yeah.
There's a big part, like I just remind myself often that just the fact that we're still like here, a lot of businesses close down. There's a lot of stuff that gets, gobbled up, and things move around, and things are changing all the time. So I just feel like literally being in the race, like being on the field is a win, right? Like just that's a win. And that helps me. So I'm not constantly thinking about like, it needs to be X number of dollars and this, or this number of employees or things like that. It's like, let's see how long we can stay in the game, while like the experiment that I'm personally on, as you could hear, is like, can we do that with retaining this culture? So if I can do that, like still exist, still keep everybody, paid and thriving, and still keep the culture, then I feel like we're we're being successful, you know?
Marissa, thank you. That was just really great. I love your vision, and I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, I appreciate you, Elizabeth, so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.